Well, hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. You're watching discussion today with the host Rajat Kane. In this edition of show, we'll talk about new education policy and higher education. Now, under new education policy that's been implemented in India, students of India will now be able to get 2 degrees from any Indian or foreign higher education institution at a time. Now, these degrees can also be achieved separately or even together, depending on the choice of students. With this, students will get benefit of grade transfer and can get a joint degree under partnership with a foreign institute of Indian university. Preparations are already being made to start dual degree or the joint degree program, as it's possibly been called, under new education policy in the universities of the country. The move comes after University Grants Commission or the UGC finalized draft related to rules of joint degree, dual degree and twin program regulations 2021 between India and foreign higher education institutions. How this move will be beneficial for the students? To discuss this further, we're joined with a panel of 2 guests, Professor M. Jagdish Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Many thanks for joining us, sir. And we have Senior Associate from Education Niti Aayog, Piyush Prakash. Many thanks, Mr. Prakash, for joining us. Let me start with you, Professor Jagdish Kumar. At the outset, these are the draft rules. Of course, it is still work in progress. I believe feedback has been sought from universities by the UGC. Now, look at the broad framework of this proposed legislation. How will this help students in the longer run?
See, one of the underlining themes of the national education policy is to make our higher education as flexible as possible. And if you look at the global trends in higher education, internationalization of higher education has been taking for some time, maybe during last decade, but during last couple of years, it has really picked up. So when you internationalize the education through the programs that you have just now mentioned, such as the twinning arrangement, joint degrees and dual degrees, credit transfers, and so on, it will provide a broader option to the students to choose and pick their academic programs. And it will definitely help the institutes to have better research collaboration with the partner institutions across the globe. And it will advance the internationalization of the higher education. And more importantly, it will help our Indian universities and higher educational institutes to rise their visibility and prestige. So therefore, the step that has been taken as part of the NEP and the UGC Gazette notification that is going to be announced soon, I think is the right step in the right direction.
Okay. Important right step in right direction, especially when it comes to interface between the students and the industry, of course, from the point of view of the research on higher education as well. Piyush Prakash, just your preliminary opinion on these draft guidelines.
Right. So I feel what Mr. Professor Jagdish Kumar just mentioned about the internationalization of education, right? So if you know, India, close to 7 lakh students go out of India every year to get degrees from foreign universities. At the same time, there is an inflow of around 47,000 students in India who come from abroad to study in India. So obviously, there is an inflow and outflow of students, and this move will be beneficial in multiple ways. One, that it could reduce the number of outflow to foreign countries. Two, it could make foreign education affordable to many of the students in India who couldn't afford a full-time degree, going abroad and studying there. And finally, in terms of research and the exposure that you get, the market skills and different sort of employability skills that you learn, that is also going to be very valuable and helpful for the students.
Right. Now, as you mentioned, Piyush, that it will reduce the outflow of students going abroad, and of course, so are we envisaging a scenario where more and more students are opting for Indian university or perhaps opting for this dual degree program in near future?
Yeah, definitely. So as I just mentioned about the stats, right, close to 7 lakh, students move out of India every year. With this joint degree, you have this luxury or the flexibility to earn some credits in India and
Okay.
have other like remaining credits from a foreign university of your choice. And that that will normally why people opt for foreign education is mostly like for exposure, better education, and also employment opportunities. With this twinning method, with this joint degrees, that is getting getting taken care of, and that's why I feel there will be a rush towards these degrees, and
Okay.
this is going to change the status quo which exists, like more number of students going out rather than coming in. And the second byproduct which I see, which Professor also mentioned, that because we are going to have some twinning arrangement with foreign universities, and the foreign universities also would like to have this tie-ups with universities which are of greater quality, right? So that way, there's an incentive for the Indian universities to improve their quality, and doing so, they would be attracting foreign students to India. So it's going to be it's going to change the current scenario for better outcomes. Yeah.
Right, Piyush, that's very interesting point. Let me have a view of Professor Jagdishan here. So, when it comes to synchronizing our university curriculum and course with the partner university of abroad, I mean, how much of you can say the intensive training would be imparted to our faculties here, or it will be again synergies between the faculty of the partner university and the domestic university?
Before I answer that question, just for the benefit of the viewers,
Right.
because some of them may not know the meaning of twinning and dual degrees, joint
Right,
degrees.
absolutely.
You
Yeah.
see, in the case of twinning, the students, while studying in an Indian institute, they can actually take courses from some other partner university, but they will get the degree only from the Indian institute. But in the case of the joint degrees, the student can take a certain number of credits from his or her own institute in India, and the other credits, about 30%, minimum of 30% from the partner institute across the globe.
Okay.
And the degree will be given jointly by both the universities. But in the case of the dual degrees, the situation is slightly different. It's also called a double degree, because a student can, while doing an undergraduate program in India, if they want to do a similar undergraduate program in a different subject from a university abroad, they can parallelly do it. And similarly, while doing the undergraduate program, if they complete certain number of minimum credits required for a master's program in a foreign university, they can do simultaneously 2 degrees at the same time. So that is the meaning of the dual degree or the double degree. Now, having said that, if you look at globally in higher education, close to about 4 million students across the world, they study outside their own home countries. And as Prakash has said, a large percentage of them, nearly 7 lakhs of them, are from India. Now, the question that we need to look at is, when we go for either for these joint or dual degree programs, what are we aiming at? Are we aiming at the mobility of the students alone, or the mobility of the students and faculty also? So in those cases, then how do we design the fee structure? How do we take care of the costs associated with this mobility? Or for this dual degrees, for the component of the credits that the students take from the foreign universities, can they take them online? Thanks to COVID now, there is more openness and acceptability to online courses. So these are some of the things that we need to look at. But if you see the global scenario, most universities which conduct the joint and the dual degree programs, nearly 90% of those universities, they prefer physical mobility of the students. So if you have a physical mobility of the students, then we also need to see the academic calendar differences that are there across the globe. So while I say that the UGC Gazette notification will be the first step, there is a lot of groundwork that needs to be done by the Indian universities to look into all these aspects of running these joint programs.
So would you elaborate further as to like what would be the groundwork that needs to be done by our universities in pursuit of these degrees?
First of all, internationalization of higher education should be part and parcel of the strategic plan of all the higher educational institutes in our country. For the next 10 years, what are our goals? in terms of the inflow of the students who come from abroad and also the outflow of the students who go from India to outside. And we also need to look at the curriculum design because there are lot of variations in the curriculum across the globe. So we need to choose appropriate partner institutes while designing these joint degrees. And there could also be legal issues. For example, our UGC Gazette notification has certain clauses. Now, when I partner with some other institute, let's say in a European country or in North America, if they have similar such Gazette kind of notifications, is there any conflict of the sections in these Gazette notifications?
Okay.
Will that prevent from going for joint degrees? These are things that we need to look at. And most importantly, the language issues, because Indian students can study in institutes which offer the programs in where the medium of instruction is English. So that means we are ruling out many good universities which are there in Asia itself, such as Japan or in some other countries. So language issues is another problem. And one of the biggest problems that people have identified while running these joint degree programs is the double counting of the credits. Do we permit this double counting of the credits so that students can complete their degree in a shorter time, or do you prevent them? No, there are several such issues that one has to work out. All that I say that this is the first step, and we need to plan properly in order to make these programs sustainable. Because that is why I said that it has to be part of the strategic plan of every institute, so that when we start these programs, they become successful, and they remain sustainable programs.
Certainly, it's a first step, and there is a lot we need to put in. Piyush Prakash, if we just this is more of a hypothesis here. If you see the twining or the dual degree programs, will it be more towards the technically oriented education, or perhaps academics where more hands-on training is required?
Not necessarily. Like, it depends on the universities. For example, a recent example that Tata Institute of Social Sciences, they did a partnership with the Harty School of Government in Berlin, in Germany. So it depends on the specialization that institute has. For example, some management institute at IIM, they would like to collaborate with management institutes, and similarly, the technical colleges would like to collaborate with some technical colleges abroad. And there's another concept, like I have a major in engineering, I have a minor in, let's say, music. Or if I have a major in biotech and I have a minor in computational technologies. So it depends on the permutation and combination of the skill sets that's required by the students, that the institute will be going after certain type of collaborations. So we can't just restrict ourselves to just to technical degrees. It will depend on what kind of skill set is required by the market, and you normally where there is job and there's employability, right? So you kind of tend to bend towards that. At the same time, certain areas where research is required, long-term research, for example, sustainable development, environmental issues. So in those spaces also, I see a lot of collaborations happening. And actually, it's happening in a twinning mode. But this joint degree will help you to earn degrees from two university at the same time, as Professor just explained. Yeah.
Right.
I would like to
Please,
add
sir,
to what Prakash has said.
Right, sir.
You see, most of the universities which are offering these programs, they prefer to offer in business, management, in engineering, social sciences, mathematics and computational sciences, physical sciences and life sciences. So that covers almost the entire gamut of subjects that one can imagine. But if you look at what programs they are offering, nearly 80% of the universities which offer these dual and joint degree programs, they prefer offering these at the master's level. Only about 30% of the universities are offering these joint and dual degree programs at the PhD level. Especially in the case of US, they focus on offering these joint and dual degree programs at the undergraduate level. So we need to see which university we want to partner and on what programs they would like to focus. That is one aspect. But from the Indian perspective, because we want to provide more opportunities for our students and we want to reduce as much as possible the outflow of our students, we need to see at what level we want to have these joint degree programs. Because when you think about the research collaborations and joint PhD programs, having a joint supervisor at the partner institute and at the Indian institute, the issue of the physical mobility of the students will come, because research just cannot be done only through online means. The students had to really enter the laboratories, they had to do the experiments. So that means that there is a physical mobility involved. And that is the reason why only about 30% of the universities which are offering these programs are interested in PhD programs. And there are also the economics associated with this, the fee structure and the living costs. One of the problems that we have seen at JNU is when we invite the international students, and many of them come to our university, we give them free hostel to them. We give very low cost food on campus. But can the same thing be ensured for our students when they go from here to the other partner institutes? So these are other issues that we need to work out in order to make these programs successful.
Right, right. Professor Jagdish, here, sir, I have one query here in terms of the student outflow, as you also emphasized. Where have you seen more outflow in terms of the technical education or more towards the humanities side of courses that has been opted by students, our students in international universities?
Right. So what is the question?
So my question to you is, in terms of the outflow of students from Indian universities to abroad, which are the ones that are chosen most one, like the technical side or the academics, I mean the humanities side?
See, currently we don't have many joint degree programs apart from few like JNU and IIT Delhi and some other institutes. Most of the students go for master's degrees. The reason for that is that in many of the Indian institutes, barring IITs and some good central universities, we still need to develop good quality master's level programs. And that is the reason why people are going abroad. So with these kind of joint degree programs, it is quite possible that they can stay back in India while taking the master's program from the partner institutes located across the globe.
Right, right. That's important. So Piyush, here, like as you also emphasize about more of an outflow, that is the students going to abroad universities, and that possibly you envisage scenario, the numbers coming down and they opting for the dual courses. How beneficial do you think that will be in terms of the economics, in terms of the movement of students? Also, the flip side of it, will students lose out the experience they usually gain from mobility?
Right. So you see, now you'll have to talk about this nature, the structure of the joint degrees that is envisioned in the policy document. One thing is that this joint degrees do not, necessarily cut on the physical mobility part. There could be instances where you spend your first year in India and you spend your second year abroad, right? So that still remains. Coming to the part of the economics part of it. So if you see, if I'm going for a 2-year course in a country, let's say Europe or UK, I'll be spending close to 40 lakhs or 50 lakh rupees just on the tuition fee for 2-year program. And then the cost of living also goes up. But here, having 1 year in India and 1 year abroad, that reduces my cost a lot, right? So and that is a huge advantage. At the same time, when you are getting your degree, the part of your degree from abroad, and you are physically there, you are also learning the market skills through your internships, through your various capstone projects. At the same time, from India, you are learning the ground realities. So that would be a right kind of mixture where you are getting the ground realities from India and learning the best of the technologies or the best of the research methods in social sciences or whatsoever discipline you choose to study. And then you combine your expertise and you could either seek a good job in the market or you can start something of your own. And the other advantage which I see here is this concept of dual degrees, which already exists in India. If you see in IITs, there are MTechs, right? the 5-year integrated MTech, 5-year integrated MSc. But with this dual degree, we'll have, let's suppose, a BTech with a MBA, right? If I'm a person who wants to start a technology-based company, or if I'm a social science researcher, I want to start some think tank. So I'll need expertise of the subject matter or the discipline. At the same time, it will also be requiring the managerial experience. So this kind of dual degree is going to change the the complete market scenario completely, and it will equip the students with both kind of skills, and they can combine multiple skills. For example, if you see a lot of courses in let's say masters in public policy combined with masters of business administration, or masters of technology with masters of arts, right? So this kind of combination, the dual degrees, will open up new avenues because the kind of future of works, the skill set that is required is completely changing. Somebody working in the field of biology might be needing computational technology to further his or her research. So this kind of degrees offer new avenues, new sort of skill sets, which are very much relevant for the current demand of the market. Yeah.
Right, right. It's pretty relevant to the current demand, as Piyush, you emphasize. Professor Jagdishan, as we're just about to wrap up the show, well, new education policy emphasizes on the holistic development of student right from the age of coming to school. Now, with, as you said yourself, said that this is a first step towards broader education avenues in the higher education in the near future, and of course, like in the post-COVID world. Are you envisaging such a scenario emerging more and more in other countries as well?
I would like to touch upon what Prakash has just now said about the multidisciplinary education.
Right.
On one side, we are debating on the internationalization of our higher education so that students will have a broader choice of the combination of the subjects. But what Prakash has said is, within our own higher educational institutes, there is a greater need now to offer these kind of dual degree programs so that students have, in order to meet today's requirements. The case in point is, for example, the dual degree in JNU 3 years ago. It's a 5-year integrated program, dual degree program. First 4 years they do engineering, and in 5th year they get a master's degree in social sciences, languages, computational biology, computational linguistics, and so on. So our own Indian institutes also now need to look at redesigning their own programs so that this kind of multidisciplinary education is available to our students within the country. While the topic on which we are discussing is that the students will also have the opportunity to choose and pick these kind of multitude of subjects even from the foreign universities. But having said that, I still say that we need to do a deeper study of the internationalization of the higher education. We should not simply go by the anecdotal information that is available to us. And if such a report is made, a professional report is made on the internationalization of higher education, that report should be made available to the universities so that they will have a clearer picture on designing and on choosing the international partners for their joint and dual degree programs.
Right, right. That's important. Many thanks. Yeah, okay, please go on. I just have a 30-second to squeeze it. Yes, Piyush.
Just to add on what Professor just mentioned, I'm very happy to share that we at Niti Aayog, we are working on a policy paper which reads rebranding India as a education destination. So it's a work in progress, but maybe in 3-4 months we'll be able to release the paper, and hopefully that will provide some guidance to the states to how to design their or to internationalize their institutions. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Piyush. So we'll wait for your work, and of course, and we'll take it forward. Certainly, this is important in terms of new education policy, given the holistic development of our student. Thank you. Many thanks, Professor Jagdishan. Many thanks, Piyush, for joining us and giving your views on this. And many thanks to your viewers for watching this edition of discussion today. Thank you. Goodbye.